welcome back to the Girls Encounter. As some of you may know, this was my old podcast and we're bringing it back. And this year we're going to be talking a lot about business, health, wealth, and life. Today we have a very special guest, my mom, Lenny Santos. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, I am Yaileni Gonzalez's mother, and I'm Lenny
Lenny
Santos.
Gonzalez. I'm
Lenny
joking.
Gonzalez. Yeah,
I forgot to
Gonzalez.
introduce myself like that.
She's Yaileni Gonzalez. I mean,
am.
that's she should call herself Yaya or Rainy, or her biological name is Yaileni Gonzalez Santos. I am Lenny Santos, a Dominican mom. Hi, everyone.
Do you want to talk about your business real quick?
I would like to talk about Mother's Healing first.
Okay. Well, we're doing another episode with mom, and it will be a business episode. So stay tuned for that video.
It's gonna be for entrepreneur moms.
Yes, moms that are CEOs. So today's episode is gonna be about healing. Kind of gonna get a little vulnerable here and talk about me growing up as a juvenile, the challenges you faced as a mom, and kind of like the resources that you had at the time when I was like running away and doing everything that I was doing, and fast forwarding to where we are today. So, I want to start by saying that you never did anything wrong as a mom when I was younger. You were very strict, but I feel like every Caribbean mother is like that. Like, if you're Caribbean, you know, our parents did not play that. Ma, don't start crying. We said we weren't gonna cry because we had our makeups done. But, yeah, my mom wasn't a bad mom. She was very strict. She was just always trying to make sure that I had, like, a good future. And at the time, I remember what, like, sparked up me running away was that there was, like, a trip. I don't know if you remember that there was, like, a trip in school. At that time, I was attending Catholic school. And the trip was chaperoned, but you didn't allow me to go. And I was, like, so mad because I'm like, why doesn't my mom let me do anything? Like, my mom, guys, we have the relationship we have now, and I'm super grateful, but my mom had me on lock. Like, I couldn't do anything. And it was just her form of protection because now that I'm a mom, like, I can understand why she feels that way. But before, I was just like, girl, just vibe. And, you know, I was a little girl. I was, like, 10, 11 years old, trying to figure out, like, why my mom wasn't letting me do stuff. But basically, I had, like, started running away. And at that time, we were living in Yonkers. And I just started getting into, like, bad shit, like, bad influences, hitting the streets. It got so bad that, like, my mom had to, like, put me in the system. And I was in the system for, like, what, like 7, 8 years? Until I was 18, yeah. Well, 17, yeah. Because then I did probation, and then when I turned 18, I finished probation. But, yeah, like, how did you feel at that time when I was, like, running away? Did you feel like you were doing something wrong? Or, like, what were your thoughts during that time?
As a young mom, going back, when I had you, I was 17 and a half. I was still in high school. And I had to face a lot of challenges because I was a single mom. We were abandoned by your father when I was expecting you. But besides my loneliness and besides being young, I felt a big responsibility. It was a time I was so scared when I was expecting you that I was going to commit abortion. I had an appointment to make an abortion, and God's will, the day I had to make the abortion, the paperwork was at my mother's house. At that time, I was living with my mother because I have to run away from your father.
Mm-hmm.
I just lived with your father for a few weeks, and I didn't have much sexual experience, so I became pregnant very fast.
Very fast, yeah.
I had no sexual experience. I had no experience with men. And that's what lack of fatherhood do in young girls. And, you know, your father was a womanizer, and, you know, he was older.
Yeah.
He was above 30. I was 17. I was in high school. I was working with my mom. I always dream in having a family and marrying, graduating. But when you have a child at a young age, everything changes. And I remember that night that I run away from your father. He was wrong, and he was sent to hit me. I was just so scared that I called a friend and common girlfriend and Colombian, very nice lady. But I remember her name is Gloria, and she picked me up. And that night, I decided that was not the life I wanted for me and my child.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was expecting you at that time, and I ended up going to my mother's house. I didn't have a place to go. I was a young, I can say responsible young mom because I was saving. I was making little money, but I was saving the money for us.
But do you feel like going through that experience was what kind of led you into like being super strict as I continue to grow? And then at that time, I was the only girl, which I still am the only
Yes,
girl.
because I didn't want you to go through the same I went. I didn't want you to have the experiences I experienced
Hmm.
as my younger age. And at that time, I wanted to protect you so much. I was raising you to be a woman of value, but I also wanted to raise you to marry a prince. I used to tell you in
Yeah.
our conversations, I don't know if you remember, that I used to tell you, I'm raising you to marry Prince Williams or somebody like him because I wanted all the best.
Definitely have not been into those kind
And
of men.
sometimes, as mom, we want to build our kids
Hmm.
a life our way and give them the things that we couldn't uh,
Get as children.
get as children or enjoy or the careers that we couldn't accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it has to be. And sometimes, as mom, we don't respect our kids' belief.
Hmm.
That's another mistake. After facing of my fears, I had to make the decision because now I'm by myself, 17 and a half, expecting a child, still going to high school, working with my mother. My mom is a no, you having a child at that age
Yeah.
because my mom wanted another future for me as well. And
Yeah.
she's telling me at that time, you have to abort. And I'm facing with this abortion side, and at my other hand, I wanted to have this child, but I don't know what to do. And I had two friends at that time, and they encouraged me to have you. One of them told me, if you don't have the baby, don't talk to me anymore. I said, I don't care, I'm not talking to you because I'm not ready to have a baby. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. And my other friend, she just gave me idea. She opened up a little bit. She was an older woman. Shout out for Sonia, and she was a great help. She just gave me some advice, and she told me at that time, you know what, you can make it. I was building credit at that young age.
Yeah.
She say you can buy the things from this store that you buy online. You can buy the crib, everything the babies need, and little by little you can pay it off as you've been doing with your personal stuff,
Hmm.
and you can save the money and move. You can make it. So she encouraged me, and she gave me hope at
I
that
like that.
time. But I was still afraid. And I remember that day that I had the appointment to commit an abortion. Your father came to the front of my mother's house, and he begged me not to abort. But I was so scared. It wasn't an easy decision for me. I was locked out. It was
Hmm.
God's will because the paperwork was inside. And it's not that I trusted him or believe him because he was never responsible to us. But I feel released that I can, like, I recover my strength and I start fighting for us. I spent all my pregnancy working and going to school. It was a beautiful moment besides everything I was going through because I was very spoiled by my classmates and those friends. I remember when my friend from school bought your first little sneakers, your first Jordan. My cousin Flavio, he bought one of your first shoes as well. So since you were in the valley, you were spoiled already. And then my family members, my aunt and my uncle celebrated me with my mother alone. Then my mom fell in love with the baby, celebrated me a baby shower. You had multiple things, multiple uh, bags. Everything was double, triple, four, fifth, 5 times the same item. And I felt blessed at that time. Even I was scared, I was still working. I remember when I was like 9 months already, almost about to have you I used to work in a restaurant with my mom after school,
Mhm.
and I fell like 4 or 5 steps on the basement. But it was suddenly, and I remember going to New York and coming back with construction. That's how strong you were. You are as strong since you were in my belly.
Period.
And when you were born, after all that fear, you were the joy of the family. My only princess. You are my only daughter, my only princess. I have 5 boys, only one girl for a purpose. And in my world, I wanted you to have what I didn't have.
Mhm.
I wanted you to be spoiled. I wanted you to have that beautiful life. And I was building that life for you. And I made a lot of mistakes building that life for you because I gave you so much protection that I think I protected you, and I didn't. It's not that I didn't value your opinion, but I was not seeing your needs at that time because I wanted you to be so perfect. And I remember, I don't know if you remember our conversations when we used to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
And when you start running away, I was asking myself, what did I do wrong? Because I thought we had a beautiful relationship. Then I started feeling guilty, and I started asking myself, what I said that I'm doing wrong? Because supposedly we were daughter and mother, but we were friends. We used to talk a lot. 2 weeks before you start running away, you were telling me that you wanted to get virgin to marriage, that you wanted to marry the right man. And I remember you were asking me about a friend of you that she was having sex without being married because I
Mhm.
always told you you have to graduate, you have to get married to the right man, then you can have children. My dream was to celebrate you to 16. I remember we used to talk about that. I remember
Excuse
when you used to participate
me. Excuse me.
in the school shows and the Christmas show. I remember that song that you sang, make a wish, you see. And I used to dream with you. I used to dream with your dreams. And it made me so happy when I was able to chaperone in your trips, when I was able to make the songs with you, because you were a star since you were little. You were the center of attention. And the family, when we used to go parties or go to family events, you were always dancing. When you were 2.9, you started modeling and modeling at school.
Yeah, I remember that.
I
That's like
remember.
one of those weird, like vivid things when you remember it when you're a kid because you don't really remember much. But I remember you taking up me to modeling. Like I used to be in a lot of stuff. I used to do tennis when I was younger. I used to do taekwondo. That's how I know how to whip a bitch ass. But I used to do a lot of stuff, and I've always been grateful for you like introducing me to that because I feel like I kind of like brought that upon Michaela too.
I went
Because
in.
I have her in everything. Like, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. I wanted you to experience, you and your brothers, after your brothers were born. I wanted you to experience different things, different sports, so you can choose what you really
Yeah.
wanted to do. And I remember taking you to Actor Usher and Queens, Brooklyn, Queens.
Yeah, that was a modeling agency, wasn't it?
No, that was a sport complex that Serena Williams used
Oh.
to play
Oh,
there.
with the U.S. Open. Didn't
Yeah.
I play? Or no,
You
I
and
think I...
no, you and Angel play actually
We
there. I
did
took you
play.
there for
I
a
did
practice.
remember. Yeah, we
Remember,
did.
it
We
was
had
a
a practice
special
there,
day.
yeah.
Yeah,
I did remember. It was in Queens.
and it was a lot of stress because it wasn't public transportation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when you were 3, I registered you in San Bernard School in Manhattan, and I
Hmm.
used to travel every day from the Bronx to
I
Manhattan.
remember. It's like a weird nostalgia moment because I remember you used to make me like mashed potatoes with boiled eggs, and I used to eat them on the way to school.
You remember?
And
And
the
the hot
salt,
chocolate.
yes, and the salt was the right amount of salt. Like I would never forget that. That I was like, when can I ever make these type of mashed potatoes? But I feel like I understand a lot of stuff. I feel like we've spoken a lot, like off screen. Like it took us a while to get to where we are now. But like you mentioned that you have friends and a support group when I was born, like before I was born. Do you feel like you should have had like those type of friends during the time that I was running away, like people that would support you and actually give you good advice. And if so, what were the if like if not, what was the advice that you were given by other people? Like in terms of me, like you putting the pins on me and then like the cops coming and all that stuff.
Uh, those friends, I left them behind in PA.
Mhm.
Remember, you were born here, but then we transitioned to New York.
Yeah.
I met my ex-husband, and I always tell you the truth. The reason that I started a relationship was because I wanted to have a family and give you a father.
Mhm.
That was the hook that he used to marry me, because I remember he used to send Pediasure
Yeah.
and special treats for you, and he
Oh,
just
he
cut
was
me.
the father that stepped up.
Yeah, and
Shout out to my stepdad Angel.
he paid for your private school since we got together, since you were 3. So you were in private school and Catholic school. I didn't believe in public education,
Yeah, I know.
and I still don't. And I wanted you to have the best. So if I had to sacrifice, I was not in love when I married, but I wanted a family.
Yeah.
And I respected him at that time as my husband. And you had everything financially that I dreamed at that time
Mhm.
that I couldn't give you by myself, because I was still going to school when I had you working. I was not making a lot of money. I didn't have much resources. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a guidance. And with my ex-husband, I had the financial that I need to to support your education.
Yeah.
And at that time, that was very important to me. I saw some red flags when you were little that I didn't pay much attention. I remember when you were 3, my uncle had a fiance, and he was in a picture with 2 other ladies. My aunt had a picture, and you saw it. And I don't know how, in your mind, you realized that that was my uncle's girlfriend. I remember we were having a family
I
dinner,
must have saw them together.
and then you just everybody was united. I was outside buying some drinks,
Mhm.
and I remember my uncle's fiance called me. She was furious. They had the worst episode ever, because you called her, introduced her to look for the picture under the mattress, and told her that's Titi's girlfriend there. How do you know that? You were 3. So you just make that family tear
They
apart.
separated.
They separated
Yeah.
that night. And because of what you did, and I said, I cannot believe this. You were so outgoing, you were so smart, but at the same time, you used to do so many weird things that make me cry. You used to go, when we were in the store, you used to run away and hide behind the clothes, and I was everywhere looking for you, crying, and you were just smiling. And
Michaela does that to me.
you will enjoy that moment. I remember
She
we
would
used to
piss me the
go.
fuck off when she does that.
I remember in New York, we used to be visiting some people in the apartments, and I would ask him, Mommy, do you have to do pee pee now? No, 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 Mommy. 2 minutes after coming down, I have to pee, and you pee and you close. You did that so many
Damn.
times. And I,
Sorry.
because remember, I'm a young mother with no experience, no support, and I'm going through all of this, and you just doing things on purpose. And I ask myself, but still, I was seeing you like you were a saint,
Like an angel.
like an angel. And suddenly, when you start growing, you were an honor student until like 3rd grade. And I
I
remember
think it was 4.
when you were on 2nd grade, you had a very, very good teacher.
Miss Faye. I
Miss
love
Faye.
her.
She loved you a lot. She loved you so much. And I remember Miss Faye, she used to spoil you.
Yeah, she
You
did.
were very good.
She used to give me all the McDonald's cookies. That's
But
why I saw them.
things happen, and I didn't realize that
You
something
know what I
was
think
wrong.
it was? I honestly, now that we're like talking about it, but it's something that I had thought about before. But I thought about it because I try to remember what in my life drastically happened that my study started to decline. Because I think it was until the 4th grade. But I think it was when you and Dad separated. Because at
No,
that
we were not
time,
separated yet.
no, but you guys were going to get separated. I think I was of that age. Yeah, because I hit middle school. St. Casimir's, you guys were already separated by then.
Oh,
Not
by that
officially.
you were already on leaving the house when.
Yeah, in sixth grade.
Because the
Because I did
reason
sixth grade. I remember doing sixth
the
grade.
reason that I transferred you, everything started when you were
But I think we transferred school because we moved to Yonkers. Yeah, originally. Then
That
they
was after.
expelled me. They
That
expelled me from St. Casimir.
you were starting having issues on visitation in school because I transferred you from San Bernard when you were in first grade. You
Yeah.
started first grade on visitation. When you were 3, you just smacked a teacher on San Bernard.
Smacking bitches since the
And I was so embarrassed. I didn't know why you were doing that. Then I brought you to visitation, and I was a chicken mom. You know where it's a chicken mom.
Yeah.
Anybody could tell me anything bad about you, I would never believe it. To me, you were an angel. You were the most loving and beautiful.
But I wasn't doing what I was trying to figure out.
You did
is
a
like,
lot of things.
I wasn't doing anything in visitation though. I wasn't behaving bad. What was I doing?
When on second grade you started. One thing you did when you were in second grade.
I was in St. Jude's in second grade.
You asked me one day, "Mommy, how do you have kids?"
Have kids, yeah.
And I told you that was when Britney Spears had her first child. You know. The
Oh
scandal,
yeah,
the
that
bomb.
everything was crazy.
And then I said, "Well, you eat rice and chicken and beans." You say, "No, Mommy, you get together and you start telling me how kids were made." I asked you, "How do you know that?"
Oh yeah.
Your friends told you at school. And then I remember I used to have a babysitter. I don't know if you remember my friend that used to live in my house, and his girlfriend came over to babysit. And one day she told me, "You know what? I cannot babysit your kids anymore." I said, "Why?" "Because your daughter is talking about sexual stuff." I said, "No, she's not.
What the fuck?
She's not."
I don't remember that, but I could believe it.
Oh,
I could believe it.
I said, "No, she's not." I didn't believe her. She left.
So I will admit, now that we're speaking about it, I will say that this is a
you were in love with her boyfriend. I think so.
Hey yo,
You were 8. You were 8.
Mommy.
8 years old.
There were times where you would leave me at grandma's house that she would have pornographic DVDs all over the house. I am so sorry, but this is like the honest truth. And I think I was watching porn at a really young age.
How?
Because she had them there and the DVDs were there and I would watch them whenever we would say grandma's house. You can ask her. Maybe she'll deny it. But my word to... Well, maybe it wasn't her room because it was in that house that she lived in. It was the room in the middle.
Well,
I don't remember whose room. I don't know whose they were. But I remember watching them and I used to be like intrigued. Like, what is this? So... I could believe it, but I don't physically remember saying anything like sexual, like at a young age, or doing anything sexual at a young age.
She was so shocked. She said, "I cannot."
Oh my God.
She said, "Your daughter is gonna get me in trouble. I cannot take care of your daughter anymore." But I didn't believe her because I don't know. I thought my daughter was an angel. I don't know if you remember that friend that you used to have. You were like 8 or 9. That she liked to dress up very beautiful, and one day I told you, "You're not gonna be friends with her anymore." And you asked me, "Wow," because she likes to have her hair loose. Because you remember, I like you to have 2
my
and
mom,
3.
please comment down below if your mom was the Dominican mom that did not allow for you to have your hair straight in school. My mom always had me in pigtails until I was like 10, 11, 12. Well, at 12, I was already out of the house. But before that, she would always have me in pigtails, and I would wonder why. And I just wanted my hair straight.
Because in my country, you can only have the hair loose when you have a special event or in a Sunday.
Yeah.
Like going to a school like that was a no-no.
I was stressed, y'all. They used to bully the fuck out of me in school.
It was, you have to have the ponytails.
Yes.
That's how I grew up. You know, those mistakes that we make as
a parent. But now, since we're going to be wrapping up soon, is there anything that you regret during those times that, like, I know obviously as parents, we talk every single day. Like, me and my mom talk every morning. If it's not like 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock. We're on the phone, starting our mornings. We're ending our nights. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but if your mom is still alive and you guys had a fallout a few years ago, please try to communicate with her and just put your pride to the side, your ego to the side. Like, sometimes it's hard as kids and as parents to do it, but you always have to compromise with the people that you love. And I'm glad that we started communicating more often. And I think it started during COVID. I think it was after COVID that we started talking a lot more. And then we were on the phone every single day, 7 o'clock in the morning when I was going to work, you were going to work. And I'm just, like, grateful that we have that relationship now. So, like, is there anything you regret not doing when I was younger?
I regret when you start running away. You were like a month or a month and a half to turn 12,
Mhm.
and I remember that scary night that you disappeared. To me, you didn't have no friends in the neighborhood. We were living in Yonkers at that time, and I remember when your brother Angel approached me and told me the truth about all the friends that you had in the neighborhood that I was not aware of, and that you used to have communication with the neighbor through balcony to balcony.
Mhm.
And it was scary that night that you disappeared, because thinking that I have an Angel as a daughter, I thought that you were kidnapped, that somebody killed you. Then Angel said the truth because he was so terrified.
Oh
That
my
he
God,
told me the truth. He
Angel.
said, "Mom, she has friend with this guy. She has friend with the other guy." I remember one day coming home. I was, remember I used to be a cab driver part time,
Mhm.
and I was driving a client around the neighborhood, and I saw you running hard from the. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon, and I saw you coming from the backyard, very red. But remember, you used to get red,
Mhm. I still get
and
red. I still get flushed
I
red.
know something was not right. And that's when I started checking you. And I remember that night that you disappeared, that I have to call Yonke police, and I thought that you were dead. I thought that something happened to you because I couldn't imagine that you were running. I used to have a friend, a cop friend, and he told me your daughter might be running away. He was the only person. And I told him, no, that's not possible. She doesn't do that. And I say, he told me, my friend, the police officer, he said, in my experience, all the kids of that age, most of the times run away from
Run
home.
away.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't find an explanation why my daughter was running away from home, because we were 2 weeks before, 2 weeks prior, we were talking about beautiful things about you getting married virgin, like finishing your career, celebrating your Sweet 16, finding the right man, and suddenly I couldn't believe you were running away. And I remember that nightmare night. Then the next day you appear safe and sound. There were like 12 detective cops from Yonke, and none of them could get the truth of where you were the
Mhm.
night
I
before.
remember that day.
And that was scary to me. And after that, I started living the nightmare, because then it was not one night, it was 2 nights that you disappeared. Then it was for 3 nights, then for 5 nights, then for five, and it was on and on and on, and everything was getting suddenly getting out of control. That was a nightmare to me. So at that time, I started asking myself, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? I thought you were being sexually molested because I didn't have an explanation. I asked you if your stepfather touched you. I asked you about so many things, and I used to ask you, "Mommy, what make you run away? What are you running?" You were so desperate, and you used to cry and say, "Mommy, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel
The
I have to
demons.
run away." And I used to cry myself out and cry out for help. I remember asking your counselor, because at that time I didn't know what was IEP, what is evaluation. I just told her I need help for my daughter, and she said, "Oh no, she doesn't need help." Giving the wrong parents, giving receiving the wrong advice can destroy your family future.
Mhm.
That counselor, she never took the time to do an assessment on you. All she told me was, "Oh, your daughter is too smart. You just need to get therapy yourself so you can learn how to deal with your daughter." But at that time, you were exhibiting emotional disturbance. Most of the parents doesn't know. School doesn't bother and offering the kids emotional support,
Yeah.
mental support. Most of the school don't bother themselves offering their parent assessment. They just worry about education. And when we don't have the right information or the right tools, we make mistakes as parents, something is going on. If you speak to, I don't think the counselor is the right person to talk with, because sometimes the counselor, they don't give the right advice.
That's true.
Speak to the psychologist of the school. Request IEP evaluation. Seek for help, especially to those young parents out there, young teenagers, mom. Do not give up on your children. Do not give up on your faith. Keep praying. Pray for your kids. Look for help. Seek for help. Cry out. It was a woman. You asked me about the resources that I found at that time. I remember a neighbor came, and one of those times that you used to run away so many different times. Every time you ran away, I had to call the cops because the police officer told me if you don't report her when she's missing, anything happen, you're gonna be responsible,
So liable, yeah.
and you're gonna be liable as a mother, you being a neglect mom. And what happened was that in one of those, I remember, the neighbors always checking out what's going on. And on those times that I called the cops, that you reappear, a neighbor came over, it's an Afro lady, and she told me, "Oh, why don't you place her a pink warrant?" I was the first person in my family experience, and nobody in my family did that before. And remember, I'm here in New York by myself.
Yeah.
My family is in PA. And I remember that lady telling me about the pink one, and I asked her, "What is that?" She said, "Oh, that's gonna be good for your daughter, because they're gonna make
Don't put
her
your kids on a pin.
never do that."
Unless your kids are like out here doing crazy shit like violence, like
And
stealing and robbing and doing
the
crazy
first
stuff.
thing is assessment,
Assessment.
mental assessment, evaluation. That's the first step.
So they can get the help they need before they escalate it. But if your kid is like de-escalating, the pins. Sometimes we need it.
And
some of them kids needed them pins.
But you
when
know
I saw
what happened,
them.
mommy? The first thing you have to look for the rule, because I didn't know what was the problem with you. Not even you, because when I used to ask you, "Why are you running away?" You say, "I don't know. I just feel like running away." And I'm so
That was-
confused because I didn't know if you were being sexual molested. And I'm thinking I'm going crazy. And it's like I was building this castle for my daughter, and suddenly everything is falling apart.
Mhm.
And I'm feeling lonely. And I'm feeling like losing the life that I was creating for my daughter. I felt like a horrible mom, failing, and I was asking myself what I did wrong as a mom. I'm failing as a mom. This is not the life that I dream for my daughter, for myself. And I felt it was a time in life that I felt like you were doing it on purpose. That I felt like a punishment. And I said, "Lord, I could abort her," and I didn't. I did everything as a single mom, a young mom. And I pushed through it. Why is she doing this to me?
I feel like honestly, like in the space that I was in at the time when I was like running away, like all I can remember is like you not allowing me to do anything, and I felt like caged in. Like I wanted to be free, and I didn't want to be free. Like letting
A
my mom.
sleepover for me was a no-no.
I know
Going to the store by
everything
yourself.
was a no, but it was like anything that I wanted to do, you would like put a halt, and it was like a hard halt. Yeah, it wasn't like she would even consider it. So I felt like I was like you were like being a mom. Like now that I'm older, it's like you were just being a mom. But when I was younger, I felt like you didn't want me to do anything, and I was kind of feeling some type of way because all my friends would go out, like they would go on the trips. Their parents would let them do their hairs. They would buy them stuff, and it was like I was always like the out of the ordinary kid. Like I wasn't ever the kid that fit in.
And the ordinary kids and Yonkers.
Yes.
And Carriel Avenue and Yonkers.
Yeah, I mean them Yonkers kids was bad as fuck.
Those Yonker kids, well,
They
not all
was bad,
Yonkers.
not all
anyways.
Yonkers kids, but at the time they were some bad ass kids. But then when I was like, what one of the feelings that I had when like you put me in the system and stuff, oh my god, I think I'm gonna like hysterically cry right now. But I'm gonna like gather myself together. One of the times that you like broke my heart the most was like November 2010 was my sentence date. I would never forget that day. And that was when we went to the court. This was after months of us like speaking, trying to fix things. Ma, when you signed me over to the state, I was in shock that you even like did that. Because I was like, why would she like give me up? Like, what did I do wrong? And like when these situations happen, like there's always two sides. You were feeling how you were feeling. I was feeling how I was feeling. So, but I like that was like the worst time. That was the worst moment I ever had. But they were like, The judge is like, yeah, we're putting her in placement. She's sentenced to a year. I was like, sentenced? Bitch, me? Sentenced? And I was a baby. Like, I was a
You were 12.
baby. I was a baby. And I just felt
That
like
moment,
it was so crazy.
the moment that touched me the most was when they handcuffed you the first time.
You know, okay, so this is not funny.
I
At
wanted
all.
to cry. That day I cried so much.
Mayuna got arrested 36 times in 1 year.
I remember.
That's OD.
And
That's funny, but it's not funny because it's like, what was I
remember
doing
pushing.
that much? I don't remember doing that much.
I remember
bad
pushing
stuff.
because remember what this lady told me. They're gonna help. They're gonna force it to go to school.
No, that
They're
shit
gonna-
made me worse. Remember?
They're gonna force it. Don't worry, she's gonna get better. After the pink warrant, she's gonna get
Mhm.
better. So I'm pushing you to get the pink warrant because in my mind, I'm thinking when you see yourself, after you see yourself being
Like
pressured,
there, yeah.
I think you're gonna give up. You became worse.
Baby girl. I became worse.
And I remember
It became like a test for me. I'm not
I remember
gonna lie. It did.
when I placed you, and then that you told grandma, my
Mhm.
mother, the things that they do with the kids there, that
Yeah,
they
they were
offer
doing
you
that.
marijuana.
Mhm.
The people that's supposed to protect you, they just offer you drugs. That made me feel like trash.
It was bad because, like, I feel like when I went to the institution I went to, it was upstate. And the circle moment was for me last year when I was working up there, that I was like, oh my God, I used to be, like, arrested and placed here when I was a kid. Um, the first few months were okay, but I feel like everything started hitting downhill once the situation happened with Aaron when he was a baby, the situation with his dad.
And let me tell you what happened.
That was
Why
bad.
I push more for the pink one, because after all you running away,
Mhm.
I start having which they call it CPS, DHS.
DHS, well, CPS was
CPS.
ACS in New York.
ACS.
Yeah.
And I'm having all these cases open, and I don't even know why. And after your situation, I remember it was a situation with my other son, and because of the record, I was having at that time like 17 investigations.
Yeah, yeah.
And that just killed me. And they removed my children a month from me. The system took off my children because when they saw the record between you and me,
Yeah,
and I didn't even understood why are they opening these cases against me. I used to go like crazy in the neighborhood looking for you. Remember from everything escalated from Yonkers to the Bronx,
Yeah.
because I used to go every people's houses. And I told them, if you receive my daughter in your house, I'm gonna call the cops on you. You have to send my daughter back
She
home.
was that ass too.
And I was so desperate. And I remember my son's father. He used to go with me in the neighborhood looking for you. And I was so desperate that I tell everybody that was my only weapon. I said, if you accept my daughter in your house, you're gonna go to jail. Because I didn't want nobody to open the door for you so you can come back home. I wanted you to be like give up and come back home. And then from Yonkers, you cross the border to Bronx. I couldn't believe you were going to Bronx. I couldn't believe you were going to Queens. And I said, how she's doing that? She's a child. And you start getting so many resources and bad influence. I remember you used to have a friend, Brianna, that I hated. I hate that girl so much at that time. I already forgave her. And I remember one day I told you, I said, those are not your friends, because your friends are not going to make you run away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Your friends, I'm not going to push you to leave your house, to leave your responsibility, and to leave your future. And I told you one day, those friends are your worst enemy.
Yeah.
You used to leave, you used to escape from the center, even being placed in the government.
I was still running away.
You would run away every
I was
weekend,
off
and you
that.
would come back like nothing and live your life there during Monday through Friday.
Wait.
And then
Because so
you
wait.
were playing with the system.
Because the system was playing with me. And I'm not the type of bitch to get played with. No, but I'm going to explain to you guys.
And I said, I used to call the cops on the center, and I said, but I placed it there. Now she's unsafe because she's on the street.
So this is going to be this trigger warning for anyone that might have any type of PTSD related to being in the system. But I have lived through it. This was over 10 years ago. I have healed from it. Clearly, me and my mom are like, we're sitting here, we're talking about it. But I will say, if you know, you know. One of the worst things that could have ever happened to me was going up there, going into that institution, because I didn't even know that there were kids with problems my age. These were teenage girls. At the time, I was like 12 years old. So these girls are around the same age as me. These bitches were fighting in school. Like, fighting, like, knocking people out. And I remember this one girl. She was, like, one of the most, like, dangerous girls in the crisis unit. When I ended up running away for, like, I think it was, like, the sixth time, they put me in the crisis unit. And I went in that crisis unit like, bitch, I do not belong here, because I was not having any type of, like, I was not having any behavior that would be, like, that was deemed as dangerous at the time. But when I went into the crisis unit, they were influencing me to do shit that they were doing, because I was like, what the hell? One of the first things that I started doing was, like, getting restrained on purpose. And I would get restrained on purpose to see how strong I was. That was toxic.
Oh, wow.
That was so toxic. And when you're in these situations, like, if you've ever worked in an institute like this, or you've ever been in, you know that when a child is getting restrained, like, they're really bad. So it would be like 6 bodies on me, 6 big ass guys and women on me, restraining me to the ground. I would purposely do it, to see how strong I was. And then I was strong enough to run away. And then I ran away, and I never went back.
The same feeling I experienced when you were running away constantly. I'm talking about years after years. And ACS cases have been open and open.
Mm-hmm.
In my record, I should have at least 30 or 40 cases, even when I moved to PA.
But ACS is a fucked up system. Like, they
just follow me, and I was overdone and overwhelmed. I don't remember the woman that saved you from my forgiveness, because at the time, after you were 16, I was already so upset at you, because I used to say she's doing it on purpose. I don't know, she hates me. You were acting, I don't know if you remember those times, because I was looking everywhere. You might not remember this, but the last episode that just kills my heart, it was a time when I was living in Long Island. And
oh my God, yeah, my mom was living in Ronkonkoma.
No, it was Coram.
Oh.
And I remember.
Wasn't the train to Ronkonkoma?
Yeah. It passed by.
Let's take the LIR
but
to
that
Ronkonkoma.
night, I remember.
Oh, when I ran away that time, that guy picked me up?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I would never forget that night. And it was
shit
Brianna. Brianna was the one.
No. It was the guy.
But she was the one that made the connection.
No, I knew him. him.
So this guy, you were planning to leave, and I have you in the home. I'm thinking I have you now. You were, at that time, you were.
I was 15.
No, you were 16 already. Because I remember that was when I get very, very upset.
Oh yeah, because then when they found me the next time, I got turned into the Bronx Horizons.
And then
that was at that time.
I remember that I'm seeing you kind of weird, but you were acting like nothing was happening, and I'm observing you.
Yeah.
And
when you listen to these stories now as a parent, like, I wish Michaela fucking would.
And I'm seeing you, and you say, "Hi, mommy, I'm okay." And I say, "Okay, I'm gonna go to see some clients." I used to be a salesperson too, besides being a cab driver. And you say, "Okay, mommy, go. You were so quiet, so nice." And suddenly, I come back home like at 6:30, and I see a luggage. You don't remember I started begging you that night.
Oh my God, mommy, no. I remember.
I told my baby's father that night, I told him she's gonna leave.
Wasn't it Liceo?
Yeah, I told him she's gonna leave. And he asked me, "How do you know?" Because I seen the luggage. And I don't know why she wants to leave. And I was begging you, and I remember you run with the luggage to this, because it was like a small, small
a little bit of information is too much on the podcast. They don't need to know that I was running with the maleta, ma.
Because to me, that was an impact. When I saw you running with the luggage on your hands, it was an impact to me.
This is so embarrassing, guys.
But you running, and I'm chasing you and begging you.
I know.
And I bend my knees, and I say, "Please don't leave. Don't leave." And I ask you, "Why do you want to leave again?" And you just want to go. And I remember you meet them. It was a black car, a man like in his 40s, and the other guy.
I think it was old as hell. Yeah.
And I remember
he was in his 30s.
And that was an old man to me. I remember you were stopping at this gas station. It's a small town on Coram. And I remember this episode. You might not remember when I tried to open the door because I was not willing to let you go again. And I'm trying to open the door, and the guy said it was not the old man, the young man. It was 16 or 17. He got a gun in his hand, and he said, "Don't."
Hey, yo, I don't remember that.
But I do because he was in the driver's side, and he put the guns like that. I was willing to get killed. But then I put my mind straight, and he just showed me the gun and said, "Don't." And I just opened the door, but the door was locked. And you were on the side of the back side. You were behind him. And
I think I remember you got like the plates and all that.
I got the plate because even though I didn't open the door because he locked it right away, but I was not scared that he showed me the gun.
Hey, yo, so
But
I was in
then-
a car without noticing there was a gun in there?
He said, "Don't," and then he put the gun up. And I just, at that time I saw the gun, but I didn't care. I was willing to do anything. They just locked the door very fast. And I was grabbing, and they were started speeding off, and I got the plate. And I called, and I made a report. And I reported the car, but nothing happened. The system doesn't do anything. The cops doesn't do anything.
I think it was because it was on Long Island and
And
then I
I
went to
re-
the Bronx.
And I reported the car, and I said it was a stolen car. I didn't know who the car belongs to. But at that night, something inside me changed. And that was the night that I stopped chasing you. Because I used to chase you for years. And every time I find you on the street, I will bring you home. One night, I remember one time I brought you home, you stole my cell phone. And you were start talking to my clients. I lost a lot of clients. I remember. That was so...
Yo.
My Lord, Yeleni, it is so wrong to me.
But I'm sorry,
One
but
day-
I don't know why I was doing that. Like, I'm
One
really
day
trying
you
to figure
stole
out
my
what the fuck
shoes.
was going
You
on.
stole my boots.
I remember the shoes. I needed to.
And then I
was
remember
trying to
a
find it.
good client that I have at that time in Queens.
my
She cursed me out because
This is so
every
embarrassing.
time my clients were calling me, you start laughing, making jokes, disrespecting the clients. Because at that point you were already out of control. You were getting in taxi cabs and I paying them. And one day I confronted her and I asked you, "How can you do that? You know I'm a cab driver. You want me to work for free for people?" You cannot do that because it was Angel that exposed you. Angel exposed you all the time. Angel started spreading the truth because he was trying to protect his sister, his big sister. But something happened after that night that made me change my mind. It's not that I gave up, but I said, you know what? Tonight I could get killed. I had other kids at home that were waiting for me, little ones.
I'm sorry.
And I was so struggling so much. Now I have other cases and I have my child's case. Because when they saw your record and my record for all those cases, what happened with my other son, they didn't even took the time to review it. They just saw my
They just
record.
took it, yeah.
And they say, "Oh, this is a horrible mom because she has like 17 cases open investigation."
Mm-hmm.
And they just believe, and they were accusing me of child abuse with my other son. They removed my children for 8 months. I have to fight for my children. Thanks the Lord. We win the case, and ACS attorneys gave up because they didn't have no proof. That was everything false information from the hospital in New York. And thanks God I got my kids back. But you know what? There's something that you can never get back, which is the pain that you go through as a mother. And having your children. And then my children were placed in the system, not because of my will, but because I had an order of protection against my children. And that affect us also because when they were allowing you to come home to prove yourself that you were ready to be in the community,
I couldn't come home.
the lady that was taking care of the kids said she was not accepting you in her house because nobody want to be near a rebel child.
Nobody wanted to be near me when I was a rebel, guys. Like, my
And-
whole family used to talk mad shit about me. I remember that nobody wanted anything to do with me. But as soon as I got my shit together, grew up, had a kid, joined the army, everybody was like, "Oi, Yeleni,
Your
Yeleni
grandmother,
that."
your grandma never gave up on you.
No, my grandma, I know. She went to pick me up. My
She
grandma was about to die.
my mother was
She
upset.
was sliding and she was riding.
She was upset at me when I placed her in the system because she was not, she never gave up on you.
I remember running away from grandma's too. Oh my God,
And
rest in peace
then-
to my grandpa.
I told you grandma
My
when she was,
grandpa Fulgencio, he was
Yes.
in the house, y'all, but my grandma had the motherfucking lock in the house. While she was
my
locked in
mom
the
locked
house,
you in.
she locked me in, bitch. I was out through the window.
And then my mom called me and said, "Oh no, I cannot no more."
I was
She just,
gone.
I mean, you were like in a rebellion to your own self. And when my mom called me,
It's
she said, "You don't know what happened. I just got Jalene. I think she just smacked you that day. I just got
she did.
Jalene
No,
and
she
smoking marijuana with this guy from the neighborhood.
Oh my
Oh, she just
god.
smacked you. I know she smacked you.
No, she smacked the shit out
Because
of me.
yes, she did. She
She
told
did.
me.
She did.
She was very upset. And then you jumped through the window. She said I had to lock her in. I locked her in, and she still escaped.
I was gone.
You were gone. And I
was
said,
gone.
"You see, it's not easy," because she was judging me. And she thought it was an easy picky. And then he said, "Are you going through it?" It was the same with your father. When your father appeared, he was judging me too. And I said, "You take
No, but my dad was being mad aggressive. But you called the cops on Dad.
because
I don't
he
know
wanted
how
to
you
take
did that,
you."
guys. Yeah, but I was okay. Like I was okay with my dad. I mean, he was a little strict. He still is. But y'all, why there was a point where I was like living with my dad because I didn't
Like for 2 months, right?
It was for 2 months, yeah. And then I was like on the phone arguing with my mom, and then I was like, I think I asked you for my social security, my birth certificate, to go to school in New Jersey, and my mom was not with it. She was like, "Where the fuck are you?" And I'm like, not saying anything. Y'all, while I was on the phone with her arguing for 1 hour, she had the detectives pull up to the house while we were on the call for them to trace a call, y'all. The next morning, I remember waking up, jumping through the back of the fucking house. Oh my god, it was so crazy.
I used to go, everybody that had you around. I remember when I went to your baby's parents. You remember that night?
Mikey's,
That I find
Mikey's
out when, that day when you called me that you were expecting.
Oh, but I was locked up when I was expecting. Remember?
And you called me and
Yeah.
you asked me, "Mommy, you want me to have it on Upwards?"
Oh yeah, because I didn't know what to do.
And I said,
And they told me that I had to call you or they were gonna call her, and I was like, nah, I'll call her. But I feel like Michaela was my blessing. Like me having a daughter was where I got out of the streets.
And
I got my shit together, and I was like,
you will never. That's a sin. You will never do that. You will never abort a child. And Michaela saved you.
She did.
Michaela saved you. And I remember. Yeah, I remember in those times when you were living with your father, that I felt so offended because he was disappeared for all your life, in our life, suddenly coming like a savior. But one of the night that I was the angriest was when you were with your family, Michaela's birthday family, because I didn't accept him for you at that time. You were both like going through the same thing. He was not as you, but he was going through his situation as well. And I remember that night that I came over and I called the cops on your baby's on your daughter's father's family. And I heard, I was very deep into the Christian religion, and I was very Christian and very judgmental. And I remember with the high music and Michaela's grandfather drinking. I said, "Oh, this is the atmosphere where you want to be." And you want to be with all these people and the high music and the drinking, and that was too much for me. And I ended up calling the cops, and then the cops say, "She want to stay?" I say, "No, she cannot stay. She has to come with me." And
but I think I was 17, right? So
you were 17.
And
I didn't want to accept, and I said, "You're not staying in this family. You're not, I'm taking you out." And you say, "I'm not staying." And I say, "No, you're coming with me." And you ended up staying, and then I ended up letting you, and I think that was a good decision at that time, because then you start going to school.
I did.
Besides everything,
I did my GED when I was pregnant. Then
your
I joined
father's
the
daughter, mother, she helped her.
Yeah,
and she asked me to sign the document, allow her to,
take custody of me.
To take custody, to register in a school.
Until,
you were almost 18. You were like 17 and a half. You were like 5 months to be 18.
Yeah, because I finished probation when I turned 18. So.
And I remember that she said, "I'm going to place in a school." I didn't believe her, but she did. And you ended up graduating from high school and then graduating from college. And, I even that you were doing better, at that time, I was seeing that you still need more to go. And seeing you now, the woman that you have converted yourself as after everything we went through, because it takes a lot of love and a lot of forgiveness. Because at the time when they removed my children for me, I felt mixed emotions for you at that time. And I just felt like compassion, but at the same time hate, because I said to myself, because of her, they removed my children from me, and I'm not a mom, and I don't abuse my kids, and I just fought for all my children. But thanks God, today we are here, healing and going through it with a lot of love for each other, a lot of forgiveness, and you know, a message that I want to give to all those mothers out there: never give up on your children, never lose the faith, love your children, being a delinquent, being a thief, being a prostitute. Just love your children above and beyond. Do not give up. Keep the faith. And every day, one thing I learned after all this we went through, I learned to pray for my children every day. There's not one day that I don't pray for my children. And I present my kids to the Lord every day. It doesn't matter what I see. It doesn't matter what they do. Something they do that I don't like. I don't judge my kids anymore. I learn to be a supportive parent. I learn to love my children above and beyond, and to let the Lord deal with them.
I just want to thank God for allowing us to be in this space. Thank you for coming on my podcast, Mom. You guys will be seeing a lot more of her. I'm very grateful for us to be where we are now. I know we're still learning, we're still healing, we're still growing. And just like my mom said, if you're a parent, please do not give up on your child. That is why I'm so for Michaela. Regardless of what she does, all I have to do is parent her. And as a parent, I've learned your kids will make mistakes. We're here as parents. They didn't ask to be here. We brought them here. So that is wrapping up our episode today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast. We will be available on all podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, and we will also be available on YouTube. There will be new episodes every Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys on the next one.
This was really an encounter.
This was an encounter. The girls encounter out.
Girls encounter out.
Diache, mami. Le estaba dando fuego.